Have you ever wondered what the most versatile editing pack was for the least expensive cost? Well, let me tell you, I may have just found it. Actually, it found me. So recently I was approached by the team at Visual VFX and they were all like, "Sup bro, wanna do a video for this dope product we've got?" And I was like, okay. So I checked it out, and even though they are the sponsors of this video, they have no say in the outcome of this video and what I'm telling you. And at the end of this video, I'll be giving away a $10 discount that you can use for your next purchase at Visual VFX. So let's break it down to a few categories. We're first gonna look at downloadability, downloadableness. We're gonna look at downloadability, ease of use, and finally overall quality. Let's start with downloadability. Now, previously in the history of Visual VFX, this kind man, Sebastian Friedrich, that's even how you pronounce his name, did a review on Visual VFX and begged for an alternative to file exporting to import all these different transitions that they were giving him. So he suggested a DRFX file, standing for Davinci Resolve effects. These are commonly used in all sorts of different downloadable presets for Davinci Resolve, and I'm surprised why they didn't have this initially, but Visual VFX heard the cry of the people and changed their file to a .drfx file. The process of downloading these transitions is super simple. First, double click on the DRFX file and a window will pop up in Davinci Resolve saying, "Do you want to download these files?" Click download, and after opening Resolve a few times, you'll have them under your video transitions in the edit page. After you're done, you can even delete the .drfx file so there's one less thing on your computer. For the LUTs, the download process is pretty simple as well. Go to your download page in Visual VFX, click download, and there will be a file installed on your computer. From there, go to the settings in the bottom right hand corner of Davinci Resolve, click color management, go to lookup tables, then you click the button that says open LUT folder. This will take you to where all the LUTs in Davinci Resolve are stored. From there, simply click and drag from wherever the new LUTs are stored on your computer to the Davinci Resolve LUTs. Then click refresh, and this will refresh all the LUTs in Davinci Resolve. If you go to your LUTs in the color page, you should find the Visual VFX LUT package. There you can look at dozens and dozens of more LUTs in Davinci Resolve, everything from cinematic movies, Hollywood production color grades, all the way to just some basic descriptions. But what about the light leaks? Well, these light leaks are basically just MP4 videos that have light leaks put on top of a black background. But when I tried it, I had a bit of a problem. And it wasn't really even a problem, it was just more of an inconvenient situation. When I clicked download in the Visual VFX page, it took me to a Google Drive folder. Not that I have any problems with Google Drive, it's just that when I tried to download the whole folder in Google Drive, it gave me an error. And so I was only able to download about 20 or so at a time. But with the ones that I was able to download, they did work really effectively, and I was able to select a good chunk to practice on some of these videos. However, I would prefer if Visual VFX would just create a big zip folder for me to download instead of a Google Drive folder. That's just my opinion though. So overall, I would give this category a solid 8.5 because I did have a little bit of trouble with the light leaks. And who knows, maybe when you try to download them, you won't have this problem. Well, what about the ease of use? Starting with the transitions again, these are drag and drop transitions, so it's pretty much like every transition in Resolve. Some of these use targeting systems, which means that you can choose personally where you want the transition to happen from inside Resolve. Go into your video transitions, choose camera movement simple, and then scroll down to TR target rotation or TR target spin. As long as it has target in the name, it will have a target system. From there, click and drag into your timeline on a clip. I did notice when I started using these that my system started to bog down a bit, but that's normal since I usually have trouble playing back in 4K. And there's even something that you can do about this. Go to the top of your screen at playback and then go down to timeline proxy resolution. Then you'll want to tick, instead of full, click half or quarter resolution. This will degrade your timeline viewport to only half or quarter the resolution, but it will give you smoother playback. And in the end, at the deliver page, you can simply select 4K and it will export in 4K. In order to view the target system, click on the transition, go up to your inspector and tick target. Go down to this little box and tick the arrow, and then go down to Fusion Overlay, and this will give you a little green X that you can click and drag to choose where this spin happens from. And after I'm done, I have to make sure I click this little target icon off. And then the transition will happen from the top left corner instead of the bottom left corner. And you can try this out with all the other transitions as well. The targeting transitions may be a bit of a leap for you beginners out there, but it's not a terribly hard thing to get used to. Let's move on to the sound effects. To import your sound effects, click New Bin, name it Sound Effects, and then click and drag the sound effects into your sound effects bin. And you can use these like any other sound effect out there. And I've played around with these for a while, and they work really well hand in hand with some of these transitions that they've given you. Let's say I want a glitch transition. I'll click and drag this over my timeline, and then I can go to my sound effects and search glitch. I like glitch 01. And hand in hand with these transitions, they work super smooth and seamless. Now, for the LUTs, after you import your LUTs, navigate to one of these files, and you can find, again, dozens. What?
What are you doing?
I'm recording stuff for visual VFX.
Sorry, you're still recording right now?
Yeah.
Were you on the phone earlier?
No. Anyways, now I will have to say that you have to have a pretty decent camera in order to get a good color grade, because if you're using something like an iPhone in a dimly lit room like what I have right here, the quality is not going to be as good, because the fact is that iPhones don't have a very large sensor in their cameras at all. But if you're using stock footage, or even if you're shooting with your camera outside, you are going to get a better color grade because you'll have more light information, more color information from an outside shot than an inside shot. So on these stock clips, hover over it, make sure our node is selected, and double click on a color grade that we want. And it will give us a pretty decent looking grade. And even if we just want this as our base, we can right click on this and add other nodes to it. And if you love one so much that you want to just keep on using it, find the top right corner of the LUT that you like, click on the star, and you will add it to your favorites that you can keep on using over and over. For me, more as an intermediate color grader, this was a bit of a learning process for me, and it was actually really cool opportunity to experiment with some of these LUTs that Visual VFX has given me. And last but not least, we have the light leaks. Now, after you download all these MP4 files, you basically just need to click and drag on top of your video clips. And you can see there's a little red and blue flares here. In order to key out the black background, click on the light leak, go up to the top right hand corner of your screen to the inspector, go down to composite mode, and click add. Then adjust the opacity to your liking, and there you have a nice light leak that carries throughout both of these clips. And besides the sound effects, this is probably one of the easiest things to use out of all the visual VFX products. Hello. So this final segment is going to be about quality, and we're going to talk about each one of these products and break them down at a 1 out of 10 scale. So starting with the transitions, I'm going to rank it at a 9 because these transitions are actually pretty high quality. Some of their movements might not be exactly your style, but there is a little bit of customization with that targeting system and also some motion blur. But I would prefer if there were less transitions and more customizable features inside the inspector. For me, being more of an intermediate editor, that's what I would prefer, but I of course understand where Visual VFX is coming from when they're giving them all sorts of these different presets, and being able to save them into your favorites in the effects, that also helps to improve workflow in a lot of different ways. So second, for the LUTs, there's not much you can say here because these are preset color grades, and when you're talking about color grading, it all comes down to your camera and your camera's sensor. You won't get a good color grade unless if you have a good camera to capture it on. So for the 9 out of 10 scale, I would have to rank the LUTs at a 9 because there's not much else you can say about it. There are dozens of color grades to choose from, and the quality is overall pretty good. And of course, you can make all sorts of different tweaks inside the color page in Davinci Resolve. For the sound effects, actually, this is something that I really like and appreciate because they are pretty well organized, they are a pretty high quality, but they are the standard sound effects, as my friend Sebastian Frederick has said in his review. The sound effects are only coherent to the transitions that Visual VFX has given you. But as far as the 9 out of 10 scale, I would have to rank it at a 9.5 because, at least for me, these are a very helpful addition to my workflow, and they're also a massive retention hack for YouTube videos. And finally, for the light leaks and the background, there's not much I can say other than they might not exactly be your style, and also that they are not that well organized. It was hard for me to find out and pick the ones that I really wanted. I was hoping for some more anamorphic lens flare type stuff, and if there is one in there, I couldn't find it. So that was one complaint for me, but overall the quality is pretty good, and there is a lot of wiggle room for adjustments adjustments such as cropping and opacity and hue and saturation, so I'm gonna rank it a 9 out of 10, which leaves this overall editing pack to be a 9, which is pretty insane considering it is only $99 with 1700 plus effects inside of it. Oh yeah, you want a code. So there is a code right up here that you can use. There's also a link down in the description below. You can get $10 off your purchase with Visual VFX. I hope this video was very helpful for you making this decision. And as far as this whole what's the catch business, I'd say the only catch is that all of these effects are in Davinci Resolve, which stinks if you're a Final Cut Pro user or a Premiere Pro person or CapCut or Sony Vegas or whatever the editing software that you're currently using. But Davinci Resolve is free and I make free tutorials here on YouTube, so be sure to like and subscribe for more of those. I'll see you guys in this video right here. Be sure to check that out. See ya.